Alright, we're going to pick off with chapter 5, or lesson 5 rather, which I poured at. Starting at the top of the page. I might repeat a paragraph here, but so what. Okay, part 2. Let's start. In 1989, I used to jog through a lovely neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. It was a suburb that had little gingerbread houses. They were small and cute. I almost expected to see little Red Riding Hood skipping down the sidewalk on her way to Granny's. There were for sale signs everywhere. The timber market was terrible. The stock market had just crashed and the economy was depressed. On one street I noticed a for sale sign that was up longer than most. It looked old. Jogging past one day I ran into the owner, who looked troubled. What are you asking for your house? I asked. The owner turned and smiled weakly. Make me an offer, he said. It's been for sale for over a year. Nobody even comes by anymore to look at it. I'll look, I said, and bought the house half-hour later for $20,000 less than his asking price. It was a cute little 2-bedroom home with gingerbread trim on all the windows. It was light blue with grey accents and had been built in 1930. Inside, there was a beautiful rock fireplace as well as 2 tiny bedrooms. It was the perfect rental house. We gave the owner $5,000 down for a $45,000 house that was really worth $65,000. Except no one wanted to buy it. The owner moved out in a week, happy to be free, and our first tenant moved in, a local college professor. After the mortgage expenses and management fees were paid, we put a little less than $40 in my pocket at the end of each month. Hardly exciting. A year later, the depressed Oregon real estate market had begun to pick up. California investors, flush with money from their still booming real estate market, were moving up north and buying up Oregon and Washington. We sold that little house for $65,000 to a young couple from California who thought it was a bargain. Our capital gains of approximately $40,000 were placed into a 1031 tax-deferred exchange. I went shopping for a place to put my money. In about a month, we found a 12-unit apartment house right next to the Intel plant in Beaverton, Oregon. The owners lived in Germany and had no idea what the place was worth, and again, just wanted to get out of it. I offered $275,000 for a $450,000 building. They agreed to $300,000. I bought it and held it for 2 years, utilizing the same 1031 exchange process. We sold the building for $495,000 and bought a 30-unit apartment building in Phoenix, Arizona. Kim and I had moved to Phoenix by then to get out of the rain, and needed to sell anyway. Like the former Oregon market, the real estate market in Phoenix was depressed. The price of the 30-unit apartment building in Phoenix was $875,000, with $225,000 down. The cash flow from the 30 units was a little over $5,000 a month. The Arizona market began moving up, and a few years later, a Colorado investor offered us $1.2 million for the property. The point of this example is how small amount can grow into a large amount. Again, it is a matter of understanding financial statements, investment strategies, and a sense of the market and the laws. If people are not versed in the subjects, then they must follow standard dogma, which is to play it safe, diversify, and only invest in secure investments. The problem with secure investments is that they are often sanitized, that is, they are made so safe that the gains are less. Most large brokerage houses will not touch speculative transactions in order to protect themselves and their clients, and that is a wise policy. The really hot deals are not offered to people who are novices. Often the best deals that make the rich even richer are reserved for those who understand the game. It is technically illegal to offer speculative deals to someone who is considered not sophisticated, but of course it happens. And the more sophisticated I get, the more opportunities come my way. Another case for developing a financial intelligence over a lifetime is simply that more opportunities are presented to you, and the greater your financial intelligence, then the easier it is to tell whether a deal is good. It's your intelligence that can spot a bad deal or make a bad deal good. The more we learn, and there is a lot to learn, the more money we make simply because we gain experience and wisdom as the years go on. We have friends who are playing it safe, working hard at their profession, and failing to gain financial wisdom, which does take time to develop. Our overall philosophy is to plant seeds inside my asset column. That is my formula. We start small and plant seeds. Some grow, some don't. Inside our real estate corporation, we have property worth several $1,000,000. It is our own REIT, or real estate investment trust. The point I'm making is that most of those millions started out as little as $5,000 or $10,000 investments. All of those down payments were fortunate to catch a fast rising market and increase tax-free. We traded in and out several times over a number of years. We also own a stock portfolio surrounded by a corporation that Kim and I call our personal mutual fund. We have friends who deal specifically with investors like us who have extra money each month to invest. We buy high-risk, speculative private companies that are just about to go public on a stock exchange in the United States or Canada. An example of how fast gains can be made is 100,000 shares purchased for 25 cents each before the company goes public. 6 months later, the company is listed, and the 100,000 shares are now worth $2 each. If the company is well managed, the price keeps going up, and the stock may go up to $20 or more per share. There were years when our $25,000 has gone to $1 million in less than a year. It is not gambling if you know what you're doing. It is gambling if you're just throwing money into a deal and praying. The idea in anything is to use your own technical knowledge, wisdom, and love of the game to cut down the odds and to lower the risks. Of course, there is always risk. It is financial intelligence that improves our odds. Thus, what is risky for one person is less risky for someone else. That is the primary reason I constantly encourage people to invest more in their financial education than in stocks, real estate, or other markets. The smarter you are, the better chances you have at beating the odds. The stock plays I personally am invested in were extremely high risk for most people, and absolutely not recommended. I've been playing that game since 1979 and have paid more than my share in dues. But if you will reread why investments such as these are high risk for most people, you may be able to set your life up differently, so that the ability to take $25,000 and turn it to $1 million in a year is low risk for you. As I stated earlier, nothing I've written is a recommendation. It is only used as an example of what is simple and possible. What I do is small potatoes to the grand scheme of things. Yet for the average individual, a passive income of more than $100,000 a year is nice and not hard to achieve. Depending on the market and how smart you are, it could be done in 5 to 10 years. If you keep your living expenses modest, $100,000 coming in as additional income is pleasant, regardless of whether you work. You can work if you like, or take time off to choose and use the government tax system in your favor, rather than against you. My personal bias is real estate. I love real estate because it's stable and slow moving. I keep the base solid. The cash flow is fairly steady and, if managed properly, has a good chance of increasing in value. The beauty of a solid base of real estate is that it allows me to take greater risks, as I do with speculative stocks. If I make great profits in the stock market, I pay my capital gains tax on the gain and then reinvest what's left in real estate, again further securing my asset foundation. A last word on real estate. I've traveled all over the world and taught investing. In every city I hear people say you cannot buy real estate cheap. That is not my experience, even in New York or Tokyo, or just on the outskirts of the cities. Prime bargains are overlooked by most people. In Singapore, with their high real estate prices, there are still bargains to be found within a short driving distance. So whether I hear someone say, "You can't do that here," pointing at me, I remind them that maybe the real statement is, "I don't know how to do that here, yet." Great opportunities are not seen with your eyes, they are seen with your mind. Most people never get wealthy simply because they are not trained financially to recognize opportunities right in front of them. I'm often asked, how did I start? In the final chapter of this book, I offer 10 steps that I followed on my road to financial freedom. But always remember to have fun. When you learn the rules and the vocabulary of investing and begin to build your own asset column, I think you'll find that it's fun. It's a fun game. I think you'll find that it's as fun a game as you've ever played. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. But have fun. Most people never win because they're more afraid of losing. That is why I found school so silly. In school, we learn that mistakes are bad, and we are punished for making them. Yet if you look at the way humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fall down, we would never learn to walk. The same is true for learning to ride a bike. I still have scars on my knees, but today I can ride a bike without thinking. The same is true for getting rich. Unfortunately, the main reason most people are not rich is because they're afraid of losing. Winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is part of the process of success. People who avoid failure also avoid success. I look at money much like my game of tennis. I play hard, make mistakes, correct. Make more mistakes, correct, and get better. If I lose the game, I reach across the net, shake my opponent's hand and smile and say, "See you next Saturday." There are two kinds of investors. The first, the most common type, is a person who buys a packaged investment. They call a retail outlet, such as a real estate company or a stockbroker or a financial planner, and they buy something. It could be a mutual fund, a REIT, or a stock, or a bond. It is a clean and simple way of investing. An analogy would be a shopper who goes to a computer store and buys a computer right off the shelf. The second type of investor who creates investments. This investor usually assembles a deal in the same way a person who buys components and builds a computer. I do not know the first thing about putting components of a computer together, but I do know how to put pieces of opportunities together, or know people who know how. It is the second type of investor who is the more professional investor. Sometimes it takes years for all the pieces to come together, and sometimes they never do. It is the second type of investor that my rich dad encouraged me to be. It is important to learn how to put the pieces together because that is where the huge wins reside, and sometimes some huge losses if the tide goes against you. If you want to be the second type of investor, you need to develop three main skills. The first, find an opportunity that everyone else missed. You see with your mind what others miss with their eyes. For example, a friend bought this rundown old house. It was spooky to look at. Everyone wondered why he bought it. What he saw that we did not was that the house came with 4 extra empty lots. He discovered that after going to the title company, after buying the house, he tore the house down and sold the 5 lots to a builder for 3 times what he paid for the entire package. He made $75,000 for 2 months of work. It's not a lot of money, but it sure beats minimum wage, and it's not technically difficult. 2. Raise money. The average person only goes to the bank. This second type of investor needs to know how to raise capital, and there are many ways that don't require a bank. To get started, I learned how to buy houses without a bank. It was the learned skill of raising money, more than houses themselves, that was priceless. All too often I hear people say, "The bank won't lend me money," or "I don't have the money to buy it." If you want to be type 2 investor, you need to learn how to do that which stops most people. In other words, a majority of people let the lack of money stop them from making a deal. If you can avoid that obstacle, you will be millions ahead of those who don't learn those skills. There have been many times I've bought a house, a stock, or an apartment building without a penny in the bank. I once bought an apartment house for $1.2 million. I did what is called tying it up, with a written contract between the seller and a buyer. Then I raised a $100,000 deposit, which bought me 90 days to raise the rest of the money. Why did I do it? Simply because I knew it was worth $2 million. I never raised the money. Instead, the person who put up the $100,000 gave me $50,000 for finding the deal, took over my position, and I walked away, wholesaling. Total working time, 3 days. Again, it's what you know more than what you buy. Investing is not buying. It's more of a case of knowing. Three, organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with or hire a person who's more intelligent than they are. When you need advice, make sure you choose your advisor wisely. There's a lot to learn, but the rewards can be astronomical. If you do not want to learn those skills, then being a type 1 investor is highly recommended. It is what you know that is your greatest wealth. It is what you do not know that is your greatest risk. There is always risk, so learn to manage risk instead of avoiding it. All right, that's it. Study session. Ask for help and understanding. Take the time to discuss each quote until you understand it. Okay, first quote. Often in the real world, it is not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. Take action. I mean, I think I talked about that in one of my vlogs. The difference between succeeding and failing or not getting anywhere in the first place is action. This goes from investing to making money on commission, or even having a business. You could think of all the greatest things in the world, but if you don't act on them, nothing will ever transpire. So again, okay. As a teacher, I recognize that it was excessive fear and self-doubt that were the greatest detractors of personal genius. It broke my heart to see students know the answers, yet lack the courage to act on the answer. Okay, I think it's kind of the same as the beginning of the first quote, right? Action. Even if you know the answer, sometimes you just are too afraid to pounce. Old ideas are some people's biggest liabilities. It's a liability simply because they fail to realize what the idea or way of doing sometimes was an asset yesterday, and yesterday is gone. Yeah, I mean, things get dated, right? It's like politicians in coal mining. You can tell them you're going to get the jobs back, but sometimes it's, especially as energy costs keep getting cheaper from other sources, despite their, coal getting cheaper or cleaner, whatever have you. It's just at that point when his energy costs just going to. Rich people are often creative and take calculated risks. Yeah, because if it wasn't creative, then everybody else would be doing it, and then that's the whole point. Anyway. Calculated risks mean you're not taking stupid risk, right? Why would you want to increase your financial intelligence? Because you want to be the person who creates your own luck. Luck favors the prepared. I don't think I have to explain that one, because you'll understand when something comes in front of you, whether it's a good deal or not, depending on what you know. It's not really based on luck, really. It's based on the luck that happened to come in front of you, but it's not luck that you acted upon it. The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. If it is well trained, we can create enormous wealth seemingly instantaneously. An untrained mind can also create extreme poverty that can crush a family for generations. Was this when he mentioned the Napoleon Hill book? Basically, what the title is, Think and Grow Rich. Everything comes from a thought, really. So, if you have thoughts that propel you in the right direction, then yes, of course. He's talking about creating wealth instantaneously. It's like if you can recognize a deal, like you're saying, you just wholesale it up. Some people are just looking for an off-market deal, and you find an off-market deal and give it to them. Then I'm getting into the weeds again. If the opportunity is too complex, and I do not understand the investment, I don't do it. Simple math and common sense are all you need to do financially. So he doesn't invest in like derivatives and stuff, which, yeah, smart. I mean, I guess a mortgage is a derivative, so I guess that's unfair to say. But there's way more complicated derivatives. The problem with secure investments is that they're often sanitized. It is made so safe that the gains are less. Yeah, it's like teeter-totter, right? You're still end up in the middle, so nothing really happens. It is not gambling if you know what you're doing. It is gambling if you're just throwing money into a deal and praying. Yeah, I mean that's what crypto is, right? It's not exactly that they know what they're doing. They're just putting money into the game and praying. It's speculation. That's the difference between investing and speculation. Investing knows that you're getting something at a discount and it's worth more in the end. Speculation is hoping that it goes up in value. And with crypto, as soon as the government comes in and makes it illegal, everything goes to zero. Despite all the libertarians saying it's the one way to avoid government. It's like, no. Great opportunities not seen with your eyes, they're seen with your mind. Basically, you do your due diligence. I bought my Tacoma property, not necessarily because of the property, like the house itself. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, tiny footprint, but the fact it was zoned, took up to 90 feet, and it was a corner lot, so you have a lot of entrances. So if you build row houses, it's really easy to access, and then it's close to UW, so eventually UW will grow up the hill. They have property essentially 2 blocks away, so it's prime real estate for the future. It is what you know that is your greatest wealth. It is what you do not know that is your greatest risk. I'm quite sure what to make of that. Maybe you can make something out of it. I'm not gonna. Additional questions. Number 1, Robert says that it is not so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self-confidence. What is an example of your life of someone else's where self-doubt got in the way of a great opportunity? Oh my goodness. 2, some people have a lot of money but do not get ahead financially. Why is that? 3, as you develop your own financial intelligence, how has it helped you see more easily whether a deal is good? 4, Robert's philosophy is to plant seeds inside his own asset column, starting small and seeing what grows. How are you planting seeds in your asset column right now? If you aren't, what could you be doing to start? I think that's a good one to think about. 5, Robert lists 2 kinds of investors, those who buy packaged investments and those who create investments. Which kind of investor are you? What kind do you want to be? 6, how have you seen fear of failure play out in your own life? And how did it prevent you from taking advantage of opportunities? What can you do to conquer the fear in the future? Think rationally. Don't think about your emotions, because your emotions will always win. But if you can, that's why we're doing. I'm doing the whole. Miracle Morning is to override my subconscious, to stop thinking in certain emotional terms and overriding more rational thoughts. So, it's kind of like the writing over old software, right? So you have this crappy software, and you kind of tell yourself over and over again, and that's what affirmations are. I guess that's it. Chapter 6 is next. Subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe. It's all free information. I want everybody to get ahead in life, so... And it's not a zero-sum game, guys. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And actually, opportunity comes from people that you know and people that like and trust you, and they'd rather give you the deal than some stranger. So, if you're in Gig Harbor, I want to start an investing group, especially on property. I didn't find one, so I also signed up to be a Fannie Mae broker, which means I would be doing the REO properties for them. I know there's not many available right now, but now is not 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future. So if you're looking to eventually get to know a broker that will be dealing with those and getting a constant stream of deals thrown at you, and you can analyze if they're good or not, right here. So come talk to me. So that's it for now. I'll catch you on the flip side.